We've got a special guest right now, and I believe this is going to be the first of many of people that are coming from the education world, people that are influencers in our communities and with our kids. Um, James Overton is a husband, he's a father, he's a stage 3 lymphoma survivor. He's a former health and physical ed teacher, and he's currently a school administrator. Now, James has shaped his entire career around health and fitness, nutrition, physical activity. He was a college baseball player. He went into coaching, multiple sports as a youth, high school, and college. So he's always active. Loved every second of being in the gym and the health classes with the kids. That was his calling. He was so good at it. He was a regular presenter at conventions, workshops, and then he became selected to a team of people that helped rewrite the New Jersey state standards for health and phys ed. And he received the School Teacher of the Year award because of that. So he's a giving guy. He's been giving back to the community for a really long time. Health and wellness is his specialty. When he found Fuel Up to Play 60, the NFL program for getting active, play 60 minutes. Fuel Up was done by the American Dairy Association. He was able to then harness his talents, which is health and wellness and kids and teaching and families and getting people involved and rallying around the cause, and move that forward. He became a national ambassador. Not only that, he had some of his kids, 3 of his kids became New Jersey state ambassadors, and he was one of the only states to have 3 ambassadors. So the ambassadors oversaw thousands of kids in their area, and he had the ability to duplicate his own efforts through the kids in the program. He was traveling around the country, helping teachers, administrators, schools find new ways to help keep their schools healthier. That was his responsibility through that program. During that, he had a chance to meet, every time you look, there's another photo of him with one of the NFL greats or leadership. He actually did a presentation at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium on the 50-yard line on health and wellness. They chose him, selected him to run that. He became the school performance coach, trained high school athletes, high school and college athletes, which then led to a career where he's writing for livestrong.com and stack.com. So he's an expert. Then he got a supervisor position to help him transition to the administrator side. And that way he can help even more people than to just be in the capacity of a teacher. So immediately became the acting dean of students in lieu of the vice principal at another middle school in the district. And then he went on and continued on and got his principal certification. He completed that program. Immediately was hired as the new assistant principal in one of the biggest school districts in the state. This guy is a giver. He's a talented guy. He knows how to move a program forward. He took this thing nationally. He met with, he had his kids on panels with SAP where they were doing studies on, what is it that motivates kids to do what they do. AdCap, Gen X, Gen Youth rather. These are major national programs along with the NFL's program for Play 60. So James Overton is a leader. I'm really excited about picking his brain right now. And let's see how we could take the I Choose Fitness program, and have it drip down into the families and the schools. And let's see what some of the hurdles are and what some of the obstacles are. But I really believe what he's going to show us is how people are going to embrace something like this. So without any further ado, let's bring James on. There he is. Welcome, James. Appreciate you joining with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. Thank you very much.
The I Choose Fitness Coalition is constantly looking for what we would call the experts in the industry, and you bring a whole different flavor to this conversation. And actually, it's because you've lived what we're talking about right now, and that's bringing health and wellness to families and to kids. And we were talking about it like with a lot of the experts, they're describing what it's like when you get older and how important what you did in your 30s and 40s is when you're 60, 70, and 80. But nobody's doing it in their 30s and 40s because they didn't learn it when they were 9, 10, and 11. So that's why guys like you come along, and people have to start paying attention to the things that you've been doing for a while. Your experience is, above reproach when we talk about the health and wellness clubs you started implementing at the middle school and elementary school level. You were recognized by the NFL, had a program called Play 60. They teamed up with Fuel Up to Play 60, which was the American Dairy Association, if I have that right. Yep. So you were one of the administrators they reached out to, one of the school folks, and said, well, we got to get this out to the schools. you became an ambassador for them, which was helping other schools in other states. I know you've been asked to speak at a whole lot of different locations. I actually saw you speak in Paterson, New Jersey, when you were rolling out the program to them. Who's the Giants player that you were doing? You were teaching how to do push-ups.
That was well in Patterson. That was Prince of Mukamara.
Prince of Mukamara. That's right.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And actually when we had Amani Toomer from the Giants come to our school and we had a push-up contest on the stage in front of all the kids, it was great.
Yeah, that's so cool. So, I mean, the recognition that you get is well deserved because you're doing something that is so important and it really sets the stage for people. And the reason I know about it is my son Jake went through your program, came home, Dad, I joined the Health and Wellness Club. I'm going to be staying after school. You're going to have to pick me up. The bus won't be there or whatever he said. And I'm like, we can't do that, Jake. And he was so fired up about everything he was learning from you. And he joined, and he, I think he's still part of the club 10 years later. Like he just loves everything that you put in place for everybody. And it was really exciting as a parent because I've never seen him motivated and pumped up coming home from school about anything like he was about this. And it was changes that he saw he could make. Now, fast forward to today, we're coming out of a really rough year. COVID lockdowns, kids are stuck at home, Zoom classes, they weren't even interacting with each other. How would you say that has affected the kids today?
It's been a lot. I mean, at the time I was, excuse me, I was a health and phys ed teacher in the past, and now I'm an assistant principal in the middle school level. And the some of the damage that's occurred with our students, it's we don't know how long it's going to take to fix it. From the physical aspect of not being able to go outside and play or be with friends or be on teams. The mental and emotional aspect of it, of being isolated so much. COVID really beat our kids up pretty bad over the last year and change. So we have a lot of work to do to try to get them back to some sort of normalcy as soon as we can.
Yeah, and you're seeing it on a different level too. Like a lot of times people say, "Oh, okay, now they're reconnected, they're back with their friends," but they haven't been moving a lot. Their health and their conditioning and their bodies are just out of shape. Forget what it's done to the minds too. But if you break them into pieces there, you could physically see how different kids are when they're coming back after a year of doing nothing. Would you consider that we're in a position now where we're in a health pandemic, or is this just a concern that we have to look at?
I would say it's a major concern. It's a major concern because you talk about you and I as adults and we put on our COVID pounds, right? But our metabolism is a lot slower than our kids. So it's easier for us to put on this weight. When you see that these 11, 12-year-olds that I deal with every day have put on some of this weight, that's surprising because their metabolism is a lot faster. So they should be burning more calories on a regular basis. We also have kids that have forgotten how to play outside. They're stuck on devices all the time. And the idea of going outside to shoot hoops or do something like that is really a foreign idea to them at this point.
Wow. And they have to recreate new healthy habits too. I mean, that's what we say with the I Choose Fitness. Fitness is not just running around and exercise, and it's a combination of exercise, nutrition, and mindset. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You have to want to do it. It's easier to lay in bed and go to school on your iPad or laptop from laying down. They're on their phones all the time. They're not moving. They're not up and moving and being active. And you can learn bad habits the same way that you can learn good habits. So if we continue to allow this to happen, we're going to have a generation of kids that don't know how to move.
Yeah, that's a shame. I mean, and as you're describing that, I'm just picturing these kids waking up at home. School starts in an hour. They don't even get out of bed. They turn on their little tablet. They log into class. They run downstairs and get a bowl of sugary cereal and eat that. So there's no exercise. There's no nutrition, and their mindset is, "Oh, here I go again." I mean, that's a horrible thing to do for a year. And some states are locked down a lot longer than others. I know you're from Jersey, and Jersey was one of the last ones to re-engage. It was at the end of the list, and that's a long time for these kids to go through that. Now, because of that, they probably also have ailments that they weren't going to their doctors on a regular basis. They probably have things creeping up that no one's even noticed yet. Um, and like we're talking about different levels of sickness, if proper nutrition, exercise, and diet can overcome a lot of problems. Like we were talking about in your introduction, you're overcoming cancer. You had lymphoma 3, I believe it was, right? And that's a miracle story in itself. If you wouldn't mind sharing that with the audience right here, like what happened in that case? Like your mental, your physical, your medical condition. What happened from start to finish?
I was diagnosed. I went for my yearly physical, and I did it right before the school year every year to make sure everything was fine. And my doctor had always called me his Friday afternoon patient because he said, I get you in and out, you're always okay, and I can get on a golf course and start my weekend early. And he said, James, everything looks good, but do me a favor. Just keep an eye. You got a little lump right here. Just keep an eye on it. Could be a swollen lymph node. Maybe you're fighting a little cold or something. Just if it gets larger, let me know. And this was in August. This was in August of 2011. And I said, okay, no problem. And then I noticed that in September, October, it was getting a little bit larger. So we ended up, I had to go and go through all sorts of MRIs with contrast and all these other things. And they said, well, we're not sure what it is, but we know it doesn't belong in there, so we're going to take it out. They took it out. Actually, that was my early Christmas gift that year. It was December 23rd of 2011, and they took it out, and I figured, okay, it's done. I'm going to go about my business. And January 9th, 2012, I got a phone call from my doctor, and he said, yeah, we removed the lump. We did a biopsy on it. I want you to contact this doctor and speak to him about it. His name is Kevin David. He's at the Cancer Institute of New Jersey. And I said, wait. What do you mean, the Cancer Institute? What are you talking about? He said, well, we tested it, and it's follicular lymphoma. And I said, it can't be. I just left the gym. Do you know what I just did in there? I'm healthy as a horse. What are you talking about? He said, James, just go talk to him. Long story short, I went through my baseline testing and everything else, and it ended up that I was at stage 3 for follicular lymphoma because I had several tumors in my chest and abdomen on the left and right side of my body, both above and below my heart. That's why my staging was so high. And I said, okay, well, what do we need to do? You tell me what we need to do. Let's get started right now. He said, well, they're very small and you're asymptomatic. So we're going to kind of wait and see how things play out. I said, okay, well, I'll try. You're the doctor. I'll trust you. And I got a call in May of that year. I was at school. I'll never forget. I was at school. I was doing lunch duty and my phone rang and I looked and it was the Cancer Institute. And I said, well, I kind of have to take this. And I ran out into the hallway and I said, yeah, Dr. David, it's me. He said, James, I need you to be honest with me. I want you to tell me the truth. Have you taken any steroids? And I said, no, have you seen me? I'm not a big guy. I've never taken any steroids. Why? What's the matter? He said, James, I need you to be honest with me. Have you taken anything? And Bob, I was a baseball player, so I hear steroids and I think horrible things are going on.
Right.
And I got really upset. I said, no, Dr. David, I haven't done anything. I never did those. And you told me not to do anything different because I'm asymptomatic. And you promised me if I did everything. And he said, James, relax. Your tumors are gone.
Wow.
I said, well, what do you mean they're gone? Where'd they go? He said, we've sent this up to 5 or 6 different people. And the only thing that we can assume is that the tumors were so small that your immune system attacked them and got rid of them. And I said, well, is that normal? He said, less than 5% of the population that are in your situation have that happen. And I said, okay, well, thank goodness that happened, but why did it happen? And he said, we think it was your immune system. The lifestyle that you lead. You're healthy. You're extremely healthy. You eat well. You work out. You try to stay as stress-free as possible. That's the only thing that we can think of. You haven't added anything to your diet. You haven't taken anything away. You've just done this, and thank goodness since then I've been in remission. I have not had any issues since then, and I have not changed anything. I just continue to take care of myself as best I can.
That is so cool to hear that story. And Ocean Robbins, we did his interview, and he was telling us that, and he's the CEO of the Food Revolution Network, and He said, I mean, people have to learn these facts that the human body was engineered to repair itself. No matter what it is, it's engineered to repair itself. If you allow it to, an immune system is a way it repairs itself. We all have one. If you do the right things, your immune system is stronger. If you do the wrong things, your immune system weakens. So we're talking this today. We're going to talk more about what are the right things and the wrong things, but they're not, they're not any major changes that any of us can't handle, to the point where you teach these right and wrong things to kids at 10, 11 years old, and they have no problem embracing them. They have no problem understanding them. They go home and get a battle from mom and dad, but you
Right.
teach the right and wrong things that build these immune systems. And now COVID has magnified what was already there. So if we had some health issues before, COVID magnified those health issues and said, look, immunity is so important to the people that were in the hospitals, that were hospitalized over COVID-19. They weren't finding anybody with vitamin D deficiencies. Like if you had your vitamin D levels up, you probably didn't have to go to the hospital when you got COVID. They're saying there's very, very rare case did they find anybody with low vitamin D levels in the hospital. Like that's all part of your immune system. And that's what we need to learn how to do through nutrition. So we're all in agreement that, health, bad health can be prevented, but in your case, would you say bad health can be reversed?
I think it can absolutely be reversed. We can start the process of doing some things differently. And we run into different types of people. Some people want to be healthy tomorrow, and they don't want to eat well, they don't want to work out, but they want to be healthy tomorrow. That doesn't work. There are things that you have to do. The other side is there are people I think that have to make these drastic changes to their lifestyles, and you really don't. That was one of the battles I fought when I used to teach kids about nutrition in middle school. And I could teach them all about the 6 essential nutrients and getting enough of these vitamins and minerals and things like that. But they're not the ones that buy groceries or cook their meals. So one of my goals was to try to teach this to parents as well. And very slowly you would see a parent come up to me at back to school night and say, who would have thought my kid loves broccoli? So I started buying broccoli. Or I had 8th graders come up to me and say, Mr. O, I had a blueberry for the first time in my life. Those things are great. So you can make these small changes that can lead up to much larger changes in our lives.
You say the small changes are important then.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to start somewhere. You can't get off the couch and say, I want to run a marathon tomorrow. You get off the couch, you take a walk. And then you can, jog a little bit and maybe build up to whatever you want to get up to. But you can't go from 0 to 60. It's got to be small increments that you go through.
Right. Yeah, and that's why it works with the kids when you're teaching the kids that they can understand, they can embrace it, and then they ask for the next step. They want more. And as adults, we should be learning from them. This is how you make changes, a little at a time. And then once you master the little one, go to the next one, add another one, add another one. So like when we talk about fitness is exercise and nutrition and mindset, and we ask a kid what is fitness, they'll be like, I want to play more. I want to, eat better. And I want to be happy. Like that's their explanation. And it's a very simple plan. Get them to play more. Well, how do you do that? How do you take the 30 kids that are so stationary today and get them to play more? What are some of your tips?
We try to, well, one of the things that my phys ed teachers do here, and they're outstanding. I have 3 phys ed teachers, and they do such a great job together. They know that kids love to compete. So a lot of times they'll have competitions, and they'll post on our digital learning platform that Joe Smith did 15 push-ups today. And the next thing you know, I have kids banging down the gym door. I can do 20. I want to do 20. And they want to come in and do it also. They also find ways to get the kids moving by having fun. Some kids don't like to work out, and some people are never going to go to a gym. They're never going to do pull-ups and bench press and squat. They're never going to. That's fine. Our phys ed teachers have found ways to use Zumba for the kids that love to dance. They've incorporated yoga for kids that want that mindfulness that they're looking for. They've found ways to play. You have a kid that's a baseball player, and they've utilized him in teaching other kids by playing wiffle ball or with a softer ball. They just find ways for kids to have fun while they move. And that's one thing I always wanted to do as a phys ed teacher. I remember having terrible phys ed teachers as a kid. terrible phys ed teachers that always made you feel less than in their class.
Yep.
And I said, I'll never do that. It's not about how many pull-ups or push-ups you can do. It's about the effort that you give, that you put out. And that's something that I've always wanted to do as a phys ed teacher. And I'm grateful that my current phys ed teachers have that same mindset.
Now they leave school and they go home. What can parents do to get their kids moving more?
That's been a big one. We've had parents that say, well, what am I supposed to do? You know what? It starts with you. Go take a walk with your kid.
Yeah.
And you know, parents don't realize the other things that come out of that. So if you and your son or you and your daughter decide to go on a 10-minute walk through the neighborhood, you actually have conversations with your child. You actually find out what's going on in his and her day. You get to find out how they're feeling, what they're upset about, what they're happy about, what someone said to them in math class. You might find out the boy that they like or the girl that they're interested in, you know? So in addition to getting out and getting both of you a little bit more active, you're building that connection again. One thing that I've noticed is that, and in my house, I have two children, I have two teenagers, and we were kind of separated during the pandemic. You know, my daughter's in her room doing her homework, my son's in his room, my wife's in another room working, and I'm in my office working. So we all kind of separated. We needed things to get back together as a family. So taking that 10-minute walk is a great way to get started with your kids.
Yeah, that's an awesome idea too. And it's fun. You know, it becomes something they look forward to because it felt good. You did something healthy, but that conversation time, undivided attention from a parent is all a kid craves, you know, and we don't know it as parents. Sometimes they think they're helping us, like, let me leave dad alone. He looks kind of busy. And inside it's like, dad could use a break. You could use a break, and you could use a 10-minute walk. And it's something we have to keep on the top of our mind. Otherwise, those opportunities come and go. That's another thing. I mean, there's some good things that came out of COVID. That was one of them. I think families had the ability to get closer because of it. We had no choice but to, we're all together, we're all in the same building, and you do things like setting up a daily walk. You create something that can last forever.
And you know, I mean, your little guy's not so little anymore. The time goes by really quick. You know, I remember him as an 11-year-old kid in my health and PE class, and I saw him the other day. We went to lunch, and he's a college wrestler. You know, so it goes by really quick. I still think of him as a little kid, and he's a man now. You know, so we need to really take advantage of the time that we have with our kids.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And unfortunately, too, we're noticing around the country, a lot of states have cut gym. You know, they're using that as a budget cut, and they're removing it from the schedule. I mean, right now, New Jersey has not done that. Do you ever see that coming? And what can we do about that?
I don't think the state of New Jersey is going to do it. We went through some really tough times in mandating a specific number of minutes that kids need to be active per day, things like that. I think, again, one of the good things that came out of the pandemic is that people realize that we need to move, we need to be active. So I think states are going to start seeing some of these things and look at social and emotional learning and say that, you know, now we can find another way to make a cut here, but we have to keep our kids healthy. Listen, if the kids aren't healthy, they're not in school because they're going to be sick, which means that the learning drops instantly. And you know, to go back even further, there is scientific proof that the brain performs better when the body is healthy. Physical movement initiates brain activity. We know this. This is not my opinion.
Right.
This is a fact. We know this. So get the kids moving. If you're so worried about test scores, and as administrator, that's one of the things I have to be concerned with now. One of the things we've done is prior to testing, we get our kids moving. We don't sit around and fill out forms and make sure we have all of our pencils and everything else. We get our staff, we get the kids, and we get them moving prior to testing. Get the brain activity going.
Yeah, that's so cool. I just heard a study the other day that reminded me that if you want to improve your mood, and you have two choices: go lay on the couch and decompress, or jump on a treadmill and get your heart rate up. Which one's going to improve your mood? And yet, most go ahead, you can answer.
No, well, but no, you're going to say it. The easier thing is to lay on the couch.
Right.
You know, we don't want to do the difficult things, even though we know it's good for us. It's easier to lay on the couch and say, oh, this will be better for me. I just need to rest. And sometimes you do need to rest. Let's be fair.
Right.
But getting your heart rate up, that's going to it's going to change your mood.
Yep. And I mean, that's what life is all about. We just want to be happy. We want to do things that make us happy, and good mood is a sign of being happy, So it's like a simple plan, but it is very difficult to do. And that comes to the nutrition side of the house too. I mean, nutrition is critical. We always say in the gym world that you don't lose weight in the gym, you lose weight in the kitchen. And nutrition, what we started talking about with health and wellness and preventative medicine and the ability to fix bad problems through nutrition is incredible. The stuff we're learning there. And then that study that came out that said doctors are only getting 19 hours of training in 8 years of school on nutrition. That's scary. And now, luckily, like Dr. Clapp was telling us, that they're fixing that exam, so now they're going to get more training on that. But in the world of kids, the food supply is about quick and easy, not about healthy. Um, and I don't want to make any enemies here, but if you go to the store and take a box of Cheerios down, it says approved by the American Heart Association, right on the front of the box. So as a parent, I go, "Oh, this is good," and I throw it in the thing and I keep going. But when you read the ingredients, or someone like you that's into health and nutrition, you're going to say that's not your first choice. Your first choice should be whole foods and fruits and veggies and things like that. So what do you see in the lunchroom at schools now?
So the lunch programs, it depends. If you talk to the kids will say, "Oh, lunch is terrible." If you talk to the adults in there, they will tell you that because of some of the federal guidelines that are put in place now for our lunches, they have changed. They have changed. There's only a certain amount of sugar and fat that can be in the foods that the kids have. I guess it depends on your school, your district, your state as to how good it tastes. But they have made some very important strides in going forward with the menus for kids. And one of the things that I've told kids forever, and I didn't make this up. Someone mentioned this to me once before. They said, stop telling kids they're the leaders of tomorrow. Tell them they're the leaders of today. And when I was at Quibbletown, the school that I was a health and PE teacher at, we would go to our kids would say, "Mr. O, I don't like these canned peaches. They're too sweet. They're in syrup and everything else. Can I just have a peach?" So what we did was we went to the food service manager and said, "Is it possible to get peaches as opposed to this? Because if the kids are throwing out the peaches, you're just wasting your money anyway."
Mm-hmm.
She went and she said, "Sure." She got us peaches. She was one of the first people to have veggie pizzas available to the kids because kids had said, "I'd like a veggie pizza." So she said, "Okay, I'll make one and we'll see how it goes." And by the end of the three lunches, one per grade, she had gone through 3 or 4 veggie pizzas because kids saw it and wanted it. So a lot of times it's something that I take pride in having the ability to do as an administrator now. I can sit and talk to our food service manager and have some say in what the menu looks like for our students.
But you also did that as a teacher. You weren't waiting until you were administrator with any kind of power. You were doing that as a teacher, and they are willing to help. And I believe that's important to understand too. We all want the best for our kids. So sometimes they think this is just what we're used to doing, and someone brings it to their attention and say, "Hey, can we get fresh peaches instead?" Yeah, let's do that. We'll put it on the order. We'll see how it goes. We'll make veggie pizzas. And just by you speaking up and asking, "Can we?" Look at the result. And if that happens in every school across the country, we could really make a big change. Um, and I heard a story about the last day of school this year. As the kids were leaving, they were all waving goodbye. You were out there with all your teachers, and so here's the principals and the teachers and all the administrative waving by. But the kids kept saying something. You tell me about that. Tell everyone on here. I want to hear that.
There were kids that they know I was a health and phys ed teacher, and I still spent a lot of time in the gym with kids on a regular basis, and they would say, "Mr. O, I'm going to keep doing burpees when I get home, and over the summer I'm gonna be able to do more when we come back in September." Or they would say things like, some kids had asked me for smoothie recipes because they didn't know a lot about it, so I just gave them basic smoothie recipes that didn't add anything other than fresh fruit and vegetables, things like that. And they said, "Oh, Mr. O, I'm going to send you pictures of the smoothies that I'm going to make," and they just talked about being healthy, and that really made my heart feel good to know that these kids want to do these things going forward. And some of them had said, "Oh, next year I'm going to join your new health and wellness club with your new advisor, and I already have plans of things I want to do." So as an administrator, as a wellness person, it made me feel good to know that kids want to do more. But the key is we can't just say, oh, okay, not right now. If the kids want to do these things, we have an obligation to them to push them forward and guide them through and let them do these things. We can't shut them down.
Right. Yeah, if they're asking about it, that means they've been thinking about it a while too, and that's really important that we pay attention. And that comes to, the third leg on the stool is the mindset. I mean, you could have a good exercise program, you could eat healthy, and you have that crappy mentality and bad attitude, and all of a sudden everything starts to get undone. You stop going to the gym, you stop working out, you stop moving around, you start laying around and complaining, and it just spreads. Um, and especially now, I mean, the media hasn't helped with all the fear and uncertainty that it's been spreading for a year or so. But in the household too, like what can we do to help the kids' mindset, and in the school as well?
A lot of it, again, because kids have been isolated for so long. Um, there are studies out there that talk about social media and mood with kids. There are things that talk about what isolation does to the adolescent brain. Um, Again, I think we have to try to get kids back to as normal as we can get while still feeling comfortable. So there are a lot of people that are still very nervous about our current environment. Um, but that being said, that doesn't mean that you can't go out to a park and still maintain your social distance. That doesn't mean that you can't have conversations with your children. Again, these are things, there are things that we can do as adults. We're the adults, we're the grown-ups. We've gone through all this nonsense before. You've heard me say a million times, there are people that say, "Oh, if I can go back in time, I would want to be this age." I would never go back to being a middle school child ever. It was the most awkward, horrible time of my life.
Yep.
So, as the educated adult, as the parent, we have to recognize that and say, "What can I do to help get my child out of this?" And sometimes we have to let go of control. We can't sit there and smother our kids. If our kids have an idea and say, "Hey, I want to let's take a ride down to the beach and just go walk on the boardwalk." It's easy to say, "Oh, the shore traffic, it's going to take me an hour to get there. It's going to be crowded." You know what? Go take the hour trip down to the beach and walk on the boardwalk or on the beach with your kid. It's not it's again the other effects that you're going to have from this are much more than just the physical. It's the emotional, it's the psychological, it's the mental effects that you will have on that it will have on your child as well.
Yeah, and I think you had an important point too. Is saying yes when the kids are asking for something. Say yes. Don't say no right away. I mean, as a parent, I know that would be one of my weaknesses. I would say no to everything. And then one that sticks out in my mind is when Jake came home from school and he goes, "Hey, Dad, the Health and Wellness Club is going down to Dallas, Texas. We're going to spend a couple of days. Mr. Overton's going to take us, and can I go?" It's like, are you kidding me? How dare you even ask that? Don't you know that that's so? Here's all the things that can go wrong, and that's how I reacted as a parent. And when he came back, and luckily he's a very persistent kid, as you know, and he came back again. No, 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 Dad, this is serious. This is good. I'm on the Play 60 program here. I'm gonna be one of the ambassadors, so I have to be there. They're looking forward to me. He's on conference calls on a school night with these people all around the country, trying to bring playtime into classrooms. So it was a good, healthy program. And then I called you up, and you said, "I can promise you this, Mr. Sisk, this is going to be a life altering trip. If you let him go, this will change his life." And I'm telling you now, I don't know if I ever said it to you, but whatever this is, 11, 12 years later, that has changed his life. He understood. He met all those athletes, all these people that were in great shape. They all said the same thing. You got to work hard. You got to exercise. You got to eat right. You got to have the right attitude. That's what he heard from all these people that made it in the sports world. Then all the people inside all these companies that ran that event, they were all saying the same thing. And then watching you on stage teaching the world how to exercise the right way and getting everybody motivated, it changed his life. And I believe that's why he's in college. He's playing two sports in college, not one. Last night he called for dinner. He wanted broccoli and chicken for his dinner. I'm like, really? I mean, I got some French fries in the back of the freezer. You want me to scrape those off for you? So those decisions as a parent, you have to learn how to say yes. And you said, back off a little bit, they'll make the right decisions most of the time.
And to your credit, that was a very difficult decision. If I were in your situation, I don't know if I'd let my kid go with his phys ed teacher to Dallas, Texas. That's ridiculous to think about it. Luckily, he was in the second or third group that I had gone with
Right.
to the summits in the summer. So I was able to give a little bit more information about it and tell you exactly how regimented it was and things like that. But again, to your credit, you did say yes. You did say yes. You thought about it. You said no
Oh,
initially.
yeah.
You thought about it, and you took all the information in and said, no, this is going to be okay. So you're right. You're right. Our initial response is we need to protect our kids. So it's no. But again, listen to it first. And then if your answer is no, you can still say no to things. My thing is I've always wanted to be able to give my children the reason as to why I said no.
Right.
Not just no because I said so. No, because these are the things I'm concerned about. And to be fair, my oldest is 17 now, and there are times when he said, no, Dad, but this is how it's going to work. And I've had to kind of have faith and say, okay, buddy, that's what you want to do. Let's give it a shot and see what happens. So you do have to be willing to listen and be open to a lot of things going on.
Yeah, and it's so important too, because especially when you lay it all out and you go, this is a good program with a real good intention, and he's got to be able to plug into things like this to grow. And now I look back and go, I can't believe I almost stopped him from that. Everything could have stopped right there, but all the things that came after that, you guys had him all over the country after that. Speaking engagement. He was invited to New York City to speak to a group of executives. They wanted to hear from kids. So yeah, all good stuff. Now, if for some reason, this pandemic kicks up again and they're preparing to shut us down or go back into quarantine, do you think we're better prepared to keep these kids active mentally, physically, emotionally this time?
I think we're learning. We're in the process, and right now I'm in the process of getting things ready for the next school year. I think it's something that is consciously in our thoughts. What are we going to do? Because one, we want the kids to feel comfortable and go back to normal as best we can. Two, we have to get them moving. We have to get them active. They spent too much time in their rooms on devices. They need to get out and start moving again. So I think it's something that it's currently in the front of our minds with planning going forward for next year and beyond that.
I think we're starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel too. There's three industries on this summit: the medical industry, the fitness industry, nutrition industry, and you. So now you're going to be the ambassador that brings this out to the school systems because of people like you. But these big industries used to do their own thing. They were in silos. Like your medical doctor didn't say, James, bad news. He threw the C word at you and he said, let's watch this. But is it getting to the point now where he might say, hey, I want to give you a prescription. I want you to get to the gym more. I want you to change your diet to include these things, improve the nutrients that you're putting in there. Like, can he bring those three industries together in a prescription pad these days? You ever see that?
I read a book, Spark by John Rady, and it talks about how he used exercise to help people that were depressed. And he said he didn't prescribe any type of medication or anything like that. And the changes that happened in their bodies and in their brains, and how a lot of these people had improved with regular exercise. Now, do I believe that's capable with everything? I don't know. I don't. That's above my my intelligence level. There are people a lot smarter than me that give you better answers. But my wife definitely laughs at me because if anything is wrong. I have a headache, my arm hurts, my knee is sore. For me, it goes back to what did I eat, how much water have I had, and how much movement have I been involved in. Those three things for me are the key. I have to move, I have to eat well, I have to stay hydrated, and I have to get some rest. If I can do those things, I believe 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah, so that's actually what leads to that. We're talking in harmony, like you just mentioned, what you need to have your body working in harmony. The nutrition, the rest, the exercise, the hydration. Now you're in harmony, and everything seems to work well. But it's difficult. Like when we're as adults, we start to worry about, we're going to die soon and what's the end of our life going to be like. But kids don't think like that. So how do we get them involved with the fact that if you have the right lifestyle, you don't have to worry about the cardiovascular diseases, the diabetes. Is that anything that we even need to talk to them about?
I tell people all the time, you have to live it. You have to live it. You have to be willing to be that person. You have to show them. I did not want to be the health and PE teacher that was overweight and sat on a bucket all day and said, all right, go run. And that's it. I
Right.
wanted my kids to see me and say, oh, wow, he's really doing these things. So, you've heard me use the term all the time, lead by example. I think you have to. You have to be the one. And again, I'm not competing in Mr. Olympia by any stretch of the imagination. I will not be doing any triathlons anytime soon. But I go into the gym and I can still race with my kids. I can still throw the football around. I can still take jump shots with them. I can still get on the floor and stretch with them. Some of them want to have lunch in my office with me, and they'll see me having my water and my salad, and my grilled chicken, or whatever it might be. Those are things that go a long way in helping the kids move forward.
So describe what do you think the world will look like if personal health is at the top of the priority list?
If personal health is at the top of the list, I don't think we realize the trickle down effect. We won't have to pay uh, for all the people that are ill. The our life expectancy right now is actually getting lower. We're not expected to live as long as previous generations are. We have to find ways to spark this in people so that they'll live longer, they'll be happier, they can give more to other people. Um, it means a lot. It means a lot to expand on who we are as people. And I think if we start giving kids these ideas and setting them up now to be successful, those are the ones that are going to be the adults. They're going to be the policymakers. They're going to be the presidents. They're going to be the bank CEOs. They're going to be the teachers. They're going to be the doctors, the lawyers. They're going to continue with this if we get them started at a young age.
Awesome answer. Um, Let me sidetrack for a second. I mean, I watched you work with the Fuel Up folks and the Play 60 folks and roll this out to all these different schools around the whole country. If we had to pick your brain and say, give us some ideas here. With this I Choose Fitness challenge is really important. It's really good for all family members, whether you're a senior or you're a 10-year-old kid. Move more, eat better, have a better attitude, and life is good. Your mood goes up. What kind of ideas would we have how do we get this into a school system? How do we get the school to embrace, is it, you said motivation and fun. Any ideas as far as how do you get the school to embrace something like that?
I think it starts with the health and phys ed teachers, getting them on board. And I think everyone has a job to do. If I can get my health and phys ed teachers on board and they can talk to their building administrators, their building administrators can go to central administration. I think there's a chain that's there. You can start things off on a very small level as a teacher in a school. And that's what I did. I started off very small. And by the time I left there, we had an auxiliary gym. We had a fit trail that was built. We had all sorts of things that were not there when I first started. And it all started with this much work, that much effort to try to expand on some of these things.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I mean, and I've seen some of those things that you put in play. So the answer is you don't have to be the one in charge making all the decisions. You don't have to be the top administrator. You could do this as a teacher. You can influence the school lunches as a parent. You could show up to the board of ed meeting and say, hey, I have a recommendation, and somebody's going to go, that's a good idea, or let's look into that. Like, it doesn't always have to be the main decision maker coming up with the idea. We all can play a part. And like you said, on a small scale, fast forward 5 years later, look at all the things that are accomplished because of it and all the people that it affected along the way. Yeah, I love that. I'd love to see everybody start to put a little bit of effort into trying to get this thing to work in unison. We bring those big industries together, we get the narrative to change a little bit, and then we roll it out to our kids. Let me ask you this, James. If you had to finish this statement, like people are saying, I choose fitness over, and they give their reason why. Go ahead, finish it. I choose fitness over what?
Everything, everything. And that's the truth. My life is better because I'm healthy. That's how I feel. I feel like Um, because I'm healthy, I'm happier. If I'm happier, I can make my wife and my children happier. I can make my staff happier, the students in my building, my siblings, my friends. My goal, and this, people may laugh at me, and that's okay. If you want to chuckle while you're watching this, that's fine. My goal is to improve the life of everyone I come into contact with. That's my thought. That's my thought. I think that's my responsibility. It can be something huge. It can be something really small by holding a door for someone. It can be a lot of different things, but I believe that my goal is to improve the life of everyone I come into contact with. And I believe that I'm able to do that because I am healthy.
Great answer. I love that. I don't think anybody's chuckling over that, my friend. I think we all need to embrace that kind of mindset as well. And that is the perfect mindset. You take care of you, you're more valuable to everybody around you. And you're leading by example. Your kids are watching you. Your kids are teenagers now, but they've watched you lead a good, healthy lifestyle all these years. So they're going to emulate that as well.
That's the goal. And it's nice to get some feedback from former students on a regular basis. Just I have a bunch now that are in college, and they're in college to be physical therapists or phys ed teachers, or there are some, one of the ones that traveled with Jake to Dallas is in school to be a doctor. So,
Okay.
these are all things that it's nice to know that you might have had a little piece to add to that puzzle to get them to where they're going. So that's always a good feeling.
Yeah, imagine that. She's going to be a doctor with the training on healthy lifestyle, which includes exercise, nutrition, and mindset.
That's it. That's it.
Thanks
That's
to Mr. O.
absolutely it. Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to listen to that valedictorian speech when she graduates too, right?
Oh my God. I told her I need to be there, and I'll be a blubbering mess watching her do that. So yes.
That's great. You've impacted a lot of people, and I really hope you know that. And on behalf of everybody that has never told you, I appreciate you. I appreciate all you've done for me, my family, and my son. And with this program that's I Choose Fitness, I think you're going to impact a lot of other people too, just by giving it the thumbs up.
Listen, I hope so. If there's anything I can do to make people happier and healthier, that's why I'm here. That's my goal.
All right. Well, I think I want to respect your time. You got to get back to closing down the shop, so you're off for the summer, right?
Well, not really. I'm still here. Now is our planning time. So it's kind of like practice and game time. This is our
Okay.
practice. We prepare for September so we can get right back in there and get going full speed.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, James. On behalf of Alan Boucher and the rest of the team at I Choose Fitness, we're glad you were able to join us today. And, if we start getting inquiries on more information about what you did in the school system, I'll pass them on to you if that's okay.
Oh, I would love it. Absolutely. 100%. Anything you need, you know how to find me.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
You have a great day.
Thank you. You too.